What is the job market like currently in the United Kingdom as a biomedical scientist? Is it hard to get jobs? Is it easy? What's the difference between private and NHS? What is the IBMS? What is your portfolio all about? What is the whole environment of working as a biomedical scientist now? Is it easy to get into research? Is it difficult? And as always, most importantly, is it friendly to international students? Meaning, if you're coming from abroad, if you're coming from where you're already here now, are you likely to get a job? In this video, we cover that with a friend of mine, Sarah, who's already in that field at the moment. Check out the previous video where we cover more of the studying aspect of it if you're trying to get on the course. And now we're covering into the job aspect if you're trying to get a job or you're trying to come and work in the country, United Kingdom, as a biological scientist. There are timestamps below so you can scroll through and check out the different topics we are talking about. But I do recommend you watch the whole thing because why not? This is a second part of the conversation, so make sure to check out the first part. And we're just talking about the job scene right now. Moral of the story is if you were to apply, what are your chances looking like? Is it friendly? Is it not friendly? Is it hard? Is it easy to try and get a job as a biomedical scientist here in the UK? So I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned to the end. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and enjoy. All right, welcome back. We have Sarah again with us. If you haven't checked out the first episode, I highly recommend you do. But I'll let her introduce herself again, just so you know what she does, who she is, and where she's from. All right, Sarah, take it away.
Hey, I'm Sarah, and I'm a final year student and in biomedical sciences. And I'm currently working as well in the NHS, and I'm originally Syrian international.
Nice. I think that's the key, obviously, because I myself, again, I'm international. If you listen to the first one, the emphasis of this part is the job aspect. The fact that Sarah is it's very, but I find it very interesting in situation where you're working as a biomedical scientist, but you're also still studying at the end. But we'll focus more on because we did the studying last time. Now, the first one off the bat is the job market for biomedical science right now. What does it look like? Is it a hard one? And if you can be even specific, obviously you're giving as an international student's perspective, someone who has to deal with every extra stuff. What is the job market now? Is it hard to get jobs in biomedical science in the UK? Easy? Meh? What would you say?
To be honest, no.
No.
Currently with COVID, no, it's quite the opposite. They need people more than ever, like right now. Maybe in the next two years or so, it might be a bit difficult because of the amount of people they are taking this year. But it's not difficult to get in, to be honest. And the job market, if you're not registered, you would need like lab or ward experience, really. So you need to be in a hospital somewhere, at least volunteering. It's something.
Yeah.
So although the qualifications are quite low, but the demand is pretty high.
That's dreams to every aspirant person who's looking for a job. They want to hear the demand is above the supply, and that is very interesting because
Yes.
I have heard even in physiotherapy now, obviously demand is fairly high overall for healthcare workers, particularly, and now we're finding the universities are recruiting a lot more students than they did previous years. A lot more
Yeah.
emphasis on getting students out of placement and things like that. So you would say it's fairly, that's good to hear that it's fairly supply is quite low and demand is quite high, and that possibly will change. So it's best to capitalize on the opportunity now. Now, obviously, you work in the NHS at the moment. So this is what kind of question we want to talk about is what's that NHS working look like? What are you doing as a biomedical science on it working in NHS?
So it really depends. As a biomedical scientist or as someone who has a degree, it's very different. Because not all students who graduate from biomedical sciences are biomedical scientists. You have to be registered because it's a title protected by law.
Are you? Or are you gonna get
Yeah, because I've got my registration. So yeah, I'm out.
Okay.
Yeah, fortunately enough. That's the trick though. So yeah, some people find it quite a lot surprising, but this is how it is. Because in the end of the day, to be able to release results, you need to know what you're releasing.
Yeah.
And to do that, you need to go through a lot of kind of training and things like that, which is why the registration is quite important. And we have to do a portfolio. But yeah, basically in the NHS, there's so many different roles you can work in.
Oh.
First of all, you could either work in the routine work, which is basically you working in the labs, or you could do the urgent or acute care work, where you would have your own office in the wards and you would assist. Or if you're not doing those two,
There's more.
you could actually work in research as a biomedical scientist, which
Okay.
is very, very different as well. It's yeah. So in the private in the public sector, it's quite diverse yet similar. I think when you narrow it down, like every aspect of that, because in the end of the day, you're assisting no matter what. You're helping out. In the end of the day, we are a team to really help that patient recover and actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So which element are you working in at the moment? Research?
So no. No, actually, yes. I'm actually working at those three elements right now.
Ah,
It just clicked.
you're doing
So
everything.
yes, I do work in the lab. I do help out the technicians. Yes. Um, I do release some results. Yes. I do the actual experiment. And I also work in the wards. So yeah, I do that for COVID, fortunately, and I have to kind of help out. So it gets really, really busy when you're the only person running the show in ED,
I can imagine.
and you have like 2 to 3 nurses that are, being that are meant to help you out the whole night as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I do that, and then I'm doing currently some research for the NHS. Yes, I just realized.
You're doing
Yeah.
a bit of everything. Now, actually, before we go into this one, which is your situation, is it a unique one to yourself, or is it fairly normal to be part studying and also working in the capacity you are now? Is it fairly normal? Is it distinct? Not.
Um, no, I'm gonna have to say that you can do it.
Yeah.
But then again, because of my experience, like before I got into placement, I thought, placement, that's it. I'm gonna only do 1 year before I graduate,
Yeah.
and then when I graduate, then I'm gonna go back to the market and try the NHS again. But little did I know, it did not stop. It did not stop, and because of my experience, I was able to do that. I know other students did kind of register to not register, but plan to help out,
Yeah.
and they did, but not everyone's got that opportunity, strictly because of how tough third year and like final year is. I think
Okay.
this is what limited students to actually helping out. But usually this is not the case. You wouldn't have students running the show really, or someone who's fresh into it, helping out at all. It's the exact same situation with how they've sent out physicians only to after immediately that they finished their course.
Yeah.
Immediately we had that happen. Immediately we also had our temporary registrar,
Yeah. Same.
so we kind of started yeah, exactly, it's the same scenario for physio and biomed. They've extended it now as well, so anyone who did have it can get get it early on if they didn't
Okay.
graduate yet. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know that I was even on I was myself was on the temp register where you kind of were call to action earlier than you thought you would. Obviously it multiple factors. If your own personal ability, some people didn't feel comfortable. They were they didn't feel comfortable going out there. At least some did. I personally I was like, you know what, I'm international, so now I got to do it, work extra hard. So, I'm not gonna waste an opportunity like that. And yeah,
Exactly.
it is a very interesting situation. So I mean, you work mainly NHS now. Have you had any experience with privates? Because I do know, and it's fine if you have. Do know that there are a lot of if you check LinkedIn, there are a lot of private companies looking for biomedical scientists here and there, but I don't know enough about.
Yeah.
So do you have any experience working on the private companies or know
Um,
knowledge about them?
no, I didn't have the experience. I got the offer to work in a lot of them, to be honest, back in placement. So in placement, you don't need to kind of link yourself to NHS.
Okay.
You, if you want to, but the reason why I went for it is because of the registration. Really, I want to get it out of the way as quickly as I could. I did get actually offers from the same companies that we hear about today, which was AstraZeneca and Pfizer.
Wow,
But
nice.
I didn't, yeah. And also QIAGEN, it's quite known in the biomedical world. They're one of the biggest suppliers as well to equipment. So they had their own sort of testing and research and things like that. But I didn't go for it because I had the NHS, obviously. I did get interviews with them, so I do understand that aspect of it. And with private, I know that they pay a lot better, but I think it really depends on what you want to do with it, you know? The job market currently wants, if it, for private, it's very different than the public. The public, as long as you're registered, doesn't matter if you have a PhD. We have some people who have PhDs, yeah, and who are very much older than me,
Yeah.
and they're not even my band.
Oh, that is very
Yeah,
interesting.
so that is a big hit. But for private sector, no, you do need at least a master's,
See.
and not all of them ask for registration, but they prefer it because it depends on your job title over there. The job titles there are very, very different. You can have a science background but not work as a scientist with them. Which is why, if you want to work as a scientist in the private sector, you need to be registered. You need to
Okay.
have that public sector experience.
Okay. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. I know the private sectors always tend to pay more than the private, and it's
Mm.
different roles. And it makes sense why they would want some more because it's more profit driven, if you get what I mean. Where these are actual
Yeah,
companies trying to make a profit. So they're trying to you're working in
yeah,
AstraZeneca, all these companies are trying to develop some new drugs. They're trying to develop all these type of things. So yeah, it makes sense why the paying will be different, but the requirements as well will also different. Similar with physiotherapy. Similar and
mm-hmm.
also similar working in different areas. Okay, that's interesting. So obviously you're international. You're international students, and everyone knows this the worst kept secret. All international students need visas and stuff like that. Right now, I do know it's more. This is probably one of the better times to be an international student from a student standpoint with the 2 year post study visa. So you do a 1 year master, you get 2 years to stay and find a job afterwards. You do a 3 year course, you get 2 years at the end of it. I was not fortunate to have that, but it didn't really matter to myself because I was able to get a job
Yeah.
before my visa came to an end. And then if you look at the new health and care work visa, which I've covered extensively on my channel, that's another good thing people are trying to do. But your own experience, obviously you're in an interesting situation. What has been your whole visa process like? Do you worry about that? Do you have to do anything extra of visa, or are you still on your student one at the moment?
I'm still at my student one at the moment, but obviously because of the course not having an embedded placement, I had to do a visa extension process.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the only bit of it. I know that sometimes by mistake they offer like the whole 4-year visa. It
Yeah,
does happen, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, but not all of the time. So if you have a 3-year visa and you're going for placement, you need to do an extension, and that was very, very straightforward if you're self-funding or not. And because it's done inside the UK as well, it's so easy, like very straightforward. You just do your application online, have their requirements, which is like having a certain amount of money in your bank account, and them seeing your placement offer. That's it. They don't need anything else. Can you imagine? Like,
Very
they didn't
straightforward.
even need housing, they didn't need anything. As long as they see your contract and you have like a letter from the university saying, yes, this person is approved to go on, um, then that was it,
Very
really.
straightforward.
You just need two things.
Yeah, no, realistically, there's always a very stark contrast when you're applying for things from the UK as opposed to outside the UK. Obviously, me,
Yeah,
myself, I applied for my student visa when I was initially coming. I think I'm twice now.
yeah,
Twice, two times for the foundation and then the
yeah,
actual one. I think I did both from Nigeria, which was obviously a very different process where you're gonna need basically the same documents, but time frames are different.
yeah.
Obviously, depends on where your country is. If you're coming from countries like Nigeria, X, Y, and Z, things may be a bit longer than you'd expect. Even here, to be honest, things did wear long, but that was primarily because of COVID. Because, well, obviously, if you imagine, there's a backlog of everything. But applying from here tends to be a lot easier. So I would recommend to people if you, for example, like if you're finishing your studying here and you already know you want to get a job or you want to work, I probably would advise you do it from here as opposed to going back to your own country and then trying to apply from
Yeah.
because it just becomes longer. And the thing is, once you've started the ball rolling here already, you can kind of stay here until you get a result. So it's not a case of because my situation
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
in my visa was ending September 9th, which is my birthday, ironically, September. And then, but as long as I applied for my visa, even a day before, I could stay here past the end of it. I was waiting for the result, and the result, which did come out like 3 months later or so. So I wasn't even bothered. I was like, you know what, I was fairly confident I would get the visa because I'm like, I'm working 3 months now. They're not going to say, well, and I did everything right. So that's always an interesting
Mm.
thing. I know you probably
But
would.
they can apply for the graduate now, which is very easy.
Which graduate? You mean the?
The graduate visa, yeah, the moment that they're done.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, and 1st of July. So anyone graduating now,
Yeah.
moving forward, you don't even need to find someone to sponsor you, so you can apply for any job anywhere, anytime.
Yes, that's actually true. My friend told me about that where he said he was gonna extend his current visa for to get the extra, basically the extended period of time now. Which again is probably one of the
Yeah.
better times. These are some of these things were already there before. When my sister was studying, which was a couple years ago, then they scrapped it. Now they realize maybe we need it. Maybe we need a more international
Yeah.
than we thought we didn't need or they were taking out. That's not good. We'll get into all that all that jazz right now. But one of the last things I wanted to ask about was obviously you're working in a very very peculiar situation. What's the working environment like? Do you find it be working as a biomedical science is stressful? Is it one that is very tasking, daunting? You require, I know you mentioned you do some night shifts and things like that. What's that, or what's the
Hmm.
environment like?
Obviously, we're a part of the hospital. The hospital is 24 hours. We are 24 hours
Yeah.
because of the role that we play, because of us kind of releasing and actually telling you what is wrong with the patient. So that falls on us. And in some aspects, we don't even need to go through to a physician and tell them what is wrong with them.
Yeah.
We immediately speak with the patient face to face, and we kind of let them know, especially with genetic conditions. So we have our own clinics as well, as I told you. Some places we have our own offices in the ward. Um,
Very interesting.
so yeah, it kind of falls into that. Um, so you can be a morning person. Like there's a good thing about it in terms of work, because if you're a morning person,
Yeah.
you can let your employers know and they'll put you on mornings. If you're a night owl, they can put you on nights. And if you're like, okay, I want to test the waters, they can put you on lates, which is between the morning and the late shift. So
Okay.
there's that flexibility. And because I know that we do night shifts and it's 12 hours, but our usual time is like 8 hours a day, 9 to 5. Like that's like the core hours that we're in.
Yeah.
And usually that's where you would have people who are just starting in those hours, because you would want to have enough staff there to train them to start with. Um, because in the night it's just go go go. You
Yeah.
don't have time to train. As well in the morning, because you're picking up from them, there's not much staff, because you wanna start running the show before everything starts.
Yeah.
So it works out that way. There's that flexibility. You still have that hospital experience, but you don't need to stay 18 or 24 hours. Yeah, I think it's the type of job that when you go home, you don't think about it,
I
which
see.
is very, very good in healthcare, or else, like, it's very, very tiring, honestly. Like, being in the wards, dealing with patients and everything, it gets to you. At some point, it gets to you. Fortunately enough, we don't get to experience that a lot, which because of obviously our very, very delicate work. We really need to be on point and
Yeah.
concentrating, and we know what we're doing, or else we would actually be falsely reporting things which are not there.
That is very
um
true.
it needs a lot of concentration. You don't get bothered a lot, which is good, I think. I don't know. It depends. Again,
Depends on
again,
you.
with any place, it depends on its dynamics. It depends on the people that you're with or anything. But this is the basicity of it. Like, you would always have that aspect of choice, of not that much exposure.
True.
But obviously, you would be exposed to a lot of dangerous things, a lot more than a person on a ward would be,
Probably.
because the infectious risk. But again, you know what? If you know what you're doing, you're wearing your right PPE, you should be perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah. If you stick to procedure, you stick to procedure, which is clearly laid out, and you should be good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. And what's it called? The, that gives us a good insight, to be honest, of working, because obviously I do physiotherapy, which is it's different. Is that we are 24, no, not 24, we're kind of 24/7, 6 7 day service, where you have different people on inpatient wards. Obviously I work in the community right now, so I don't have to worry about that, but I do know physios who work in inpatients,
Yeah.
and they get on call, and they can get called like 2 a.m. So they do work, you're on call, or you may work till 6 p.m., and it's very variety. But I know we don't do rarely do we do 12-hour shifts. I know that's more of you guys, nursing and some other professions that do like 12-hour shifts and things like that.
Yeah.
So you guys will get like maybe 3 days on and 3 short and long. But yeah, that's that's your world. The last thing I wanted to ask before we close out was very specific one, which I will probably cut out in a separate segment